In this section, we're going to be looking at the cardiovascular risk factors. The first thing that we want to look at are our lifestyle risk factors. Risk is a suggestion that something bad might happen to you. A lifestyle risk factor is a risk factor that is affected by how we choose to live our daily lives. It's important to note that the lifestyle risk factors of people and populations have changed over the years. 100 years ago, people were more likely to do physical labor, but as our world has westernized, we've seen mechanical advances that have reduced that need. Another big change that has arisen due to this westernization is the consumption of more energy-dense but nutrient-poor foods. We've seen an increase in the consumption of saturated fats and trans fats, salt, and refined carbohydrates, and a decrease in our consumption of fresh fruit and vegetables. Combine the nutrition changes with the decrease in physical activity, and you have a recipe for disaster. The good news, however, is that we can modify our lifestyle choices, so all is not lost. It's important to note that there are also biological risk factors that are not modifiable. So, for example, your age, your gender, and any genetic disorders are beyond our control. Now, diabetes is a risk factor that requires special attention regarding cardiovascular disease. This is a condition where the blood glucose is higher than it should be, and over time it will cause numerous medical problems, including cardiovascular disease. In fact, cardiovascular diseases are responsible for up to 4/5 of the death of people with diabetes. The word diabetes comes from the Greek word for siphon. Now, think about a siphon. It's used to remove liquid, and diabetes is a disease where we see liquids removed from the body. Primary symptoms of diabetes include both excessive thirst and a production of large amounts of urine. So you can see how that derivative of that word plays into the symptoms for diabetes. And as we westernize the world, we are seeing a rapid increase in the occurrence of this disease. There are two types of diabetes. Type 1 is when the individuals are insulin dependent. It's sometimes called juvenile diabetes because it usually develops in children and teenagers, although it can develop at any age. Individuals who suffer from type 2 diabetes still produce insulin, but it may be in insufficient amounts, or their cells might be resistant to the action of the insulin. Insulin directs glucose from the bloodstream into the cells. So when we have resistant cells or insufficient amounts of insulin, the glucose can build up in the bloodstream. Obesity and the lack of exercise are two very important environmental factors thought to be contributing to the rapidly increasing numbers of people worldwide who are suffering from diabetes. In the past, we considered those individuals over 40 to be most likely to develop type 2 diabetes, but it is now occurring in increasing frequency in younger people, including adolescents. Obesity is another risk factor. Carrying excess body fat predisposes individuals to develop elevated blood cholesterol and diabetes. You will see that many of the risk factors for cardiovascular diseases are interlinked, much like the diabetes and obesity are. Recent data reports show that adult obesity in the United States exceeds 35% in 4 states, 30% in 25 states, and over 20% in all states. So although we've seen a decrease in 4 states in the past decade, the overall data is still very troubling. So in summary, although there are certainly risk factors that exist beyond your control, we can control our everyday choices regarding our lifestyle. You decide what you eat and in what quantities. You decide if you are going to exercise or if you're not going to exercise. So the message here is that it's time to start making smart lifestyle choices before it's too late.